So let me start with this quote. Those who crash verbs conquer Spanish. I read it in the book that I picked up at airport in Japan when I decided to learn Spanish. I translated the quote, which was written in Japanese, in English. So I hope you get the point. Spanish would say, Quien venza verbos conquiste español. It is so true what this quote is saying. Whoever really master the verbs of the Spanish language will conquer Spanish language. And I really felt lucky to get this message in the beginning when I decided to learn Spanish language, because I picked up this book and then this book told me this, and I really took this as an advice and this quote into my heart. And so for that reason, I really felt I was lucky to meet this great quote about learning Spanish language. So I wanted to give this quote to you guys because I want you guys to pound this quote into your head, inscribing this what this is saying in your brain. And for that reason, I really want to introduce you guys about Spanish verbs, really understand the Spanish verb conjugation, because this really is going to determine whether or how fast you could start communicating in Spanish language. Spanish verbs are so advanced and they conjugate in so much detail. The verb itself tells so much more than any other language, in my opinion, more so than English and Japanese, as far as I know. Because of the conjugations that they differentiate each forms, they even could omit mentioning the subject, which is impossible in English, as you know. And each verb, Spanish verb, typically conjugates between 106 to 109 different forms. But here I want to mention that, we don't need to overwhelm with these numbers, because this is like, there is a simple rule that you can apply to each verbs. And of course, there is an irregular verb compared to regular verbs. But even those irregular verbs conjugate in certain rules, different rules. So today, I wanted to pick up one verb and start showing you guys and explaining you guys how Spanish verb conjugate. I picked up the verb hablar, meaning in English, to speak, because we are about to study together how to speak Spanish. So let's take a look at how Spanish verbs, regular verbs, conjugate. So if I want to say I speak, I would say yo hablo. Yo hablo. Now I want to note that yo is meaning I. Spanish speaking people pronounce either yo or yo. And I prefer yo, so I pronounce yo hablo. People in Spain, in Europe, they pronounce yo, and some countries in Latin America pronounce this word as yo, but most of the people in Latin America pronounce yo. And if I want to say you speak whatever language, I would say tú hablas. Tú hablas. And if I want to say the third person, he or she speak, then, well, let's start with he. If I want to say he speak, then I would say él habla. Él habla. And if I want to say she speak, it will be ella habla. Ella habla. I didn't put in the presentation, but ella is the word for she, but also like yo, oftentimes people pronounce ella, and some other time or some part of the world or region, they pronounce ella. Just so we can distinguish what we are doing, I added like yo to el, the subject in the sentence. But as I said, Spanish conjugate their verbs so in detail. For example, I really didn't need to say yo abro. I just could say hablo because hablo is the form only specific for yo in present form. So I really don't need to say yo because people will understand that specific verb form conjugation is for yo. So as shown in example, habla inglés, it means does he speak English? Depends on, of course, in this case, depends on the context. It could be does she speak English or do you speak English? And I will explain that in detail later. Usually, in the context, the person in the conversation probably already know who they are talking about. So, habla inglés. If the mutual understanding is something, they're talking about him, then it means that he speak English. And another example is hablo español. Really means I speak Spanish. I don't need to say yo hablo español. And you could say that too. And it's just like in English. Sometimes you want to emphasize the subject. It's not like you speak English, but you speak English. So similar to this, sometimes they want to emphasize the subject rather than rest of the sentence. So sometimes they intentionally add what you don't need to add. For example, yo hablo, they really want to emphasize I speak rather than I speak. So just to explain you how they conjugate this particular verb hablar. So I pulled out some of the table that explain how Spanish verb conjugate and specific to hablar in this case. So focus on 3 words marked by red line. So if you want to conjugate the verb hablar, what they do or what you do is take out the end part ar and replace with certain forms. For example, for I, for the first person, you replace with o. So that becomes hablo. So please take a look at second column and fourth row. It says, it's almost like a top of the column. It says usted slash el slash ella. This is basically 3 subjects that could be categorized into the third person. So in Espanol, third person could actually include usted, which really means you. So I just wanted to note this because if I say you would think it's a second person, right? But tú is the second person. And usted is more formal version of tú. So tú you would use for your friend or more the person who are very familiar with and have a friendship, like friends-like relationship. And so if you have person who you don't know much, then you would want to use usted. And this depends on different culture and different countries. Some countries more use tú, and some other country use more usted. So really you need to find out where you are or where you're gonna be. To be safe, most of the time, if you use usted, more safe because this is expressing more respect to the person. On the other hand, to express more friendship. So again, just like in English, there is first person and second person and third person conjugation. Yo hablo. Tú hablas. Él habla. So this is the form of the hablar conjugation. So you can just say hablo, hablas, habla. Because again, if I say hablo, that really could mean I speak, right? So you don't need to say yo. And the same thing goes hablas. If I say hablas, it only could mean you speak, not he or they or I. And if I say habla, this could only mean he or she or formal way of you. Hablo, hablas, habla. Hablo, hablas, habla. This is something that you all should practice at your home on your own pace. Not just understanding in your head, you have to actually practice verbally because this is the language you are going to speak. So your mouth and tongue really need to practice this thing. So just practice when you have time saying hablo, hablas, habla. And we're gonna get into more like plural form of this subject, which is gonna be hablamos, habláis, hablan. So the complete present conjugation will be hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, habléis, hablan. So just keep repeating saying these words is gonna get you boosted start. Yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla. Yo hablo, tú hablas, él habla. So what happens if the number of person we are talking about increases? 2-person, 3-person. If I have 3 of I's, that really means we, right? So it becomes hablamos. If I want to say we speak, then I will say nosotros hablamos or simply hablamos. Again, hablamos only applies to we, so we can say simply hablamos, and that really means we speak. It cannot mean anything else. But here, again, nosotros is the word for we. And if there are multiple two, like you, so basically that becomes you guys. And that is habléis, but this is something that I need to mention to you guys that this is pretty much only used in Spain, the original European country that this language originated. And in most of the Latin American country, except a few, they don't use this conjugation. Basically, simplify them into next conjugation. Basically, so they eliminate this vosotros. They don't use vosotros. Even they use tú and usted both in singular form. Depends on formality. They simplify into hablan, the next one. So basically, simplify and eliminate this vosotros habláis. So the next one will be ustedes, ellos, ellas, really meaning the plural form of usted, él, and ella. They conjugate to hablan. And just the same thing like I, you, and he. Basically, take out the AR at the end and then replace with either amos or ais or an. So hablamos, habláis, hablan. So let's review what we did, what we learned today. The number 1 is the quote, those who crash verbs conquer Spanish. And this is really important, so I want you guys to pound this quote into your head so you will always think about this. Take your time, find 5 minutes every day and tackle on this. It's the beauty of this Spanish language. The verb conjugation is, and it's not complicated, so don't be overwhelmed and just study it a little by little. I'm going to get into more details and more verbs with you guys, so don't worry, and we do it together. And the third one will be we went over using verb hablar, and we learned how you can conjugate simple words like to speak. Basically replaced NAR with OAS, A for I, you, he, she, respectively. Assignment today I want to give you guys is really get something out of it. Doesn't have to be everything, but understand a piece of something that we learned together, and find a person who you can practice that, and just say like hablo español or hablas español. Just find out what the responses are. You have to enjoy this journey for what we are pursuing. And that's one of the things that is super important in order to accelerate or boost your learning curve. Two things. One is enjoy. Like I said, enjoy what you are doing. So just go out and then find somebody and then just say hablo español and just enjoy their response. Some people might be, huh? What you're saying? What are you talking about? I don't understand. And that response you have to enjoy. You cannot interpret that response as a rejection. So go ahead and enjoy. And then the second thing is to engage. So it really relates to this exercise because you have to engage. We're gonna have the format that we could have more engagement like webinar, not like this recorded video. But I would really recommend to engage because that is actually make a deeper connection of what you are learning with yourself. So the learning curve will significantly improve. So here, find a person who you can practice with and just say habla español or hablas español, something like that. And then enjoy, like, this is engagement and then enjoy it. And lastly, print out the downloadable materials in this lecture and look at it once in a while and, have it with you all the time. One of the things that I did when I decided and when I started studying Spanish, was that one thing I bought 3 dictionaries and have one of them always with me. And I also printed like conjugation chart like I'm asking you now, and I bound it together so I had that big booklet with me all the time. So, and another thing is just to repeat the conjugation out loud in your mouth, like hablo, hablas, habla, hablamos, hablan. So that's it for today, and see you next time.